we have a chance to try to extend our season record to 12 games. And that's important for us, and that's the only thing that's really pretty much on my mind, and I think I speak for the masses when I say that. The defense is playing great, the special teams getting great field position, the offense is winning, the point of attack, we find ways to win.
You can't get to there until you take care of what's next.
I want to be number one.
Do you think you are the best?
Right now, at the time in life and where I'm playing at, yes.
Hey, yo. C3 is the best. And it's the C3 Panthers podcast because it's Tuesday night, folks, where every week we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinion with you guys. People are already here in the chat room, chopping it up, ready to talk about Vernon Butler, ready to talk about training camp, and ready to talk about the Brett Kollmann interview. And I'm going to do that with my two buddies. Mel Mayock in the house, my friend. Good to have you back.
What's happening, Professor? Good to be back. Tuesday night, the training camp week, lots to talk about.
Cody Lashney, the YouTube champ in the house. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing wonderful, brother. And as Phil Collins once said, I can feel it coming in the air tonight, baby. Football is around the corner. Tomorrow morning is officially the start of the 2018 season. It might as well be. Training camp starts up. I'm excited. Let's do it, boys.
Pretty sure I'm going to double check my notes right here that this is episode 25 and 18.25. Tonight's show is The Smell is in the Air, and we're going to be talking about, and that's because football is, you can hear me. Football is right around the corner, right? I mean, it is really there. We're going to see people on the field. We are going to see, well, at least the practice field. We're going to see some battles, but I would say I am not as excited for training camp this year as I have been in the past. I'm kind of just itching to get through it and just see how the season goes. So we'll be talking about all that tonight. It is, look, everybody, we appreciate you being here. Go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. Go ahead and subscribe. Make sure you hit that little bell notification. So when we put out new material, you get a notification right away. And do us a solid and help us build Panther Nation together. And you can do that by sharing the show with just one friend, right? Take the link, email it to a friend, tweet it to a friend, Facebook it to a friend, gram it to a friend, whatever you guys do, right? We appreciate that. And you can jump in the conversation yourself by calling in to the Cat Calls line, which is open all day, every day. The number is 252-228-5098. That's 252-228-5098. Let's go ahead and jump into it, guys, right before Joe will be joining us in a few minutes. But before the show today, some news just came out. A woman has accused Vernon Butler of pushing her at a nightclub out of the VIP section. No charges have been brought. The Panthers have been made aware of the event. And I just saw on Twitter someone said, and I want to give them credit for it, they said this. It was, hold on, where is their handle at? Somewhere in here, they said something to the effect of it was 4 days after the event. Here it goes. It is at Joseph Barsanti, F3 Cheddar. He said, took 5 days to report. Smells like she figured he was an athlete, spent 4 days threatening, looking for a payout, then followed through. Now, if it did really occur, we don't want to minimize, any type of violence, particularly from a giant man against a woman. But, I think there is some room to be suspicious about accusations today in light of the things that have been happening around the league where women have come out and vendetta accused people.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. It's he said, she said until some real evidence comes out, and it's it's a double-edged sword, man, because it is slippery. There are bad people out there that will do anything to get a buck, but at the same time, you don't want to downplay women and villainize them for being victims. So, you just got to wait till more comes out, I think.
How one of the things it said that it pushed her down some steps. Now, let me just say I stumbled across a domestic violence incident one time, like in person. I didn't even know it. So I was going to pick up something from somebody, and I know these people. I'm not revealing anything. Anyway, this person goes, yeah, he just pushed me down the steps. And I'm sitting in their living room, like he's not there. I'm like, she looked all right. I'm looking around. I look at these long steps. I'm like, dang, like these long wooden steps. And I'm like, God, if I got pushed down them steps, I would be a wreck right now. And turns out they meant the front steps, and there was only 3 of them. So when you say like push down the steps, I always think about that. Like, is it like 10 steps, 2 steps, 1 step? I don't know. Just putting it out there.
It's so hard to know.
Distraction.
Really yeah, and it's one of those things where, I mean, there have been at least 2 or 3, if not more, stories already of women faking these accounts. And again, I echo your sentiment. You don't know until they do an investigation, because you do want to believe a woman if something like this did happen to her. That's something a man should never put his hands on a woman, point blank, end of discussion. But if all of a sudden, he's a millionaire football player, well, then a stumble down some steps turns into a push. Mm-hmm. And man, my deal is this: if you're Vernon Butler, you've yet to prove anything to this team. Why are you out in the club, man? Cam Newton is on Instagram every day flexing, showing off how much he's training. Why isn't Vernon Butler doing the same thing? I mean, he was a first-round draft pick, and he hasn't proven his spot on the team yet, in my opinion. So, I mean, this is not a good look.
If he's not careful, he's going to end up like Kevin Dodd ended up today.
Yeah, cut.
Y'all see that? Yep.
Yeah, former Clemson player.
2 years later. Yeah.
No, well, the freaking Puerto Ricans in the house. What's up, Joe?
Hey, what's up, guys? Glad to be here.
What's up, Joe?
Vernon Butler doesn't have a lot of collateral to play with, does he? Or a lot of house money. He's not playing with a ton of house money, is he?
Nope.
I know.
No.
What happened? Tell me about the Kevin Dodd. I don't even remember this. But was he a defensive end?
Yeah, he was a big defensive end. We gave him some pub, during the pre-draft season. He's a big dude coming out of Clemson. After 2 years, man, the day before training camp, Tennessee cuts him.
What happened?
They just cut him.
And I hear he didn't show up to training camp. So I feel he was already on the last straw anyway.
Right, I heard the same thing. He never showed up.
That's not smart.
So with the we're gonna wait for more information to come out. Obviously, with Vernon Butler, what we didn't need is anything like this to be true for Vernon Butler. Like, what we really need is the complete opposite for Vernon Butler, and that is he fly completely under the radar and then all of a sudden explode on the field, pushing offensive linemen down the steps. Not the other way around. And maybe it just turns out we got him on the wrong side of the line, because if he pushed her down, according to one of the stories I wrote, he pushed her out of the VIP section down the steps and then came down. And when she fell down, she got up and he pushed her again. So yeah, to me, that just sounds like he's just playing the wrong side of the ball.
Offensive tackle.
Yeah, just put him on at the just put him where Norwell was at.
That's our new left guard if Matt Khalil doesn't work out.
There you go. All right. All right. So here, what we're going to do a little bit different this week, guys, is we're going to jump in, and Mel has been saying this for months, and we've done it once, I think, and I always push it back. But we're going to do the cat calls at the beginning of the show this week and see where they take us. I know J-Dub mentioned it in the chat room last week. So we're going to see what's going on there. And let's just go ahead and jump into the calls and see what they want to talk about.
How did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like. Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose? Who's that kid that can use one?
It's a boy, J-Dub. Oh, man, what a day. Only a week away from my 33rd birthday, and I put in my first ever email to Grill Bill Voss on the official site, and sure as shit, woke up today and, sorry my words, but and it was answered first time, put in, first time answered immediately during the lightning round. It was awesome, and I'm pretty proud of myself because not only did I articulate exactly what I wanted to, even though I was messed up, not only that, but I basically gave him a would you agree, yes or no question, and he answered completely. Like, that's as close as you get to getting Bill Voss to be speechless. Like, that's about as close as you get. And doesn't say back, he just said he completely agreed. So I gained a lot more respect for him, not just because it was me that was coming from, but that he agreed because it's honestly the truth, what I wrote. So I think I articulated my point very, very well and represented us and our family and everybody very well. And I'm sorry, this is just kind of a gloat call, but I'm happy as hell. Couldn't be happier. I also got news, not for sure, but most likely this year I'll be going to my first ever Panthers game, either in Detroit or Cleveland. It's kind of tentative, but it's just been a good day. I just wanted to share the news with y'all. You know I love y'all, and I'll most likely be there with y'all Tuesday. All right, keep pounding.
All right, here we go. Hold on. Before we jump into that, I'm going to see. I think I got it pulled up here, what his actual comment was.
And happy birthday,
Panthers fan. Yeah, happy birthday. That's right. And Panthers fan Africa made it too. I see her on all the time. Mm-hmm. She is all over the place. Now, hold on. Where Michael from Cape Cod? Here it goes. I certainly believe that wide receiver and secondary will be a huge focal points for fans as far as who sticks and who starts. With that being said, left guard could be much more important for the success of this team. A lot of people, I think, are putting way too much on the fact that Ron has said Amini Silatulu will start camp there. Just like Seymour, Ron is putting in the guys who know the system and team to make it a smooth transition. Would you agree? And he said completely. You know, that is, and that's something I think we've mentioned too on the show, and J-Dub has talked about as well, in that at this time of the year, you know, like when you hear Mike Adams taking most of the reps, like, duh, or out with the first team, like, duh. You're not going to put the guy that you just drafted that doesn't know any of the team, the language yet, who's sitting over there trying to figure out how to put his new helmet on. You don't put him in over the veteran, you know, is that you let them walk and show them how to do it. And then you see how the other guys develop in the face of that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, you gotta see how things play out, and really, you're not going to get a clear idea until like maybe week 3 of preseason.
Let's talk about the topic for a second, since we said we're going to let the cat calls dictate kind of where the show goes at the moment. Let's talk about this. Is while a lot of the focus is, like he said, is on wide receiver and defensive back, this left guard position is important. And one that is critical probably to the success of this team, especially if you have the idea of Ryan Khalil potentially, you know, if you're worried and concerned how he's going to hold up after last season, that you can't afford to have two newbies on the line right beside each other. Silatulu, how do you guys feel about him? And also, where do you think the Panthers, how they're going to look at the end of camp? I'll let Joey start.
Don't start with me, Tony. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll let Cody start.
All right.
Listen, man, if you're a Panthers fan, it has to keep you up at night. You live and die by the offensive line, man. Your defensive line and your offensive line are the most important positions in football. And if we have Cam Newton, he has all these weapons around him now. I mean, some of them are unproven, but we did upgrade the receiver position. It doesn't matter for anything if he's not standing upright for more than 3 seconds at a time, And if they know that's the weaker area of our team, they're going to pinpoint Matt Khalil and Amini Silatolu every time. So, I mean, right now we are praying that when we check our Twitter feed and we're listening to our Panthers beat writers give us updates on what's happening during camp, we're praying that we hear someone else step up, because Amini Silatolu might know what we do, but he's by no means the answer. And I don't want anyone to be fooled into believing that he is.
Yeah, we've talked about him extensively on this show, which is a sad thing.
When you're talking about your left guard, it's usually a problem.
Yeah.
Right.
When
you're talking about Amini Silatolu as your left guard, it's definitely a problem.
That's right.
Nah, I mean, you don't want to pick on. I don't like picking on these guys that are working hard, trying to make it.
There were so many times last year when he was in there where he just got pushed directly back into Cam Newton. So
yeah,
let's just hope he's not the guy.
We just see, and I think the thing we've always said is that while we don't find him, we're not like particularly impressed by much at this point. He seems more of a tackle than a guard because he's not particularly powerful. Just strong. Yeah.
Right.
Is that you think he's just quick-footed or something?
Yeah.
Or I don't know. There's some reason they keep him around right now. It's because he has a pulse. Right? You have Taylor Moton, or for some of y'all, Potato, Moton, Moton. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of confusion over his name and how to pronounce. I think it's what is that? It's kind of like some people pronounce it Moton, some Moton.
I've always heard it pronounced Moton, so that's what I've always said.
I've never heard it pronounced anything but you guys saying it, so it's like both for me. But here, you got him. You got Searles, who was an unrestricted free agent. They keep talking about the guy that we had at, or maybe he was a restricted free agent. The guy that we had playing Tyler Larson, playing guard. How do we? Is Moton the guy that you really want?
Honestly, I want Tyler Larson personally because I want Moton to concentrate on tackle because there's no guarantee we're going to be able to re-sign Darrell Williams right at the end of the year.
True.
I agree, but I'm sort of hoping the other way around. I'm going to hope that Matt Khalil turns it on and that he might end up being the answer at left tackle, even though most people don't believe that he will. And then Darrell Williams, if he stays at right tackle, and if Moton stands out at the left guard position, that might make us push, extending Darrell Williams a little sooner than we might have otherwise and shore up that line.
Yeah, I mean, if you had three pieces, could work. What would be also interesting too, though, is if you really like what you saw out of Moton in practice and some of the things he was doing, and Matt Khalil continued to play just kind of on the bubble, essentially. What if he was good enough to where you just said, all right, we're going to extend Williams, let go Matt Khalil after next year, and then Moton become left tackle? That could also be something that, you're just kind of hoping that you have one extra piece so you're not left with no pieces. All right. All right, so let's keep going with these calls and see what else these guys got going on.
This is the world famous G Cavassier. How y'all doing?
G?
Hey, I was listening to the show last night, and that dude Brett Kollmann, he was very knowledgeable, man. Even though honestly, the way he broke down our team made it seem like we are a horrible team. Kind of like broke my heart, because he was talking about Devin Funch's route running, which I think, me personally, that Devin Funches is a hell of a better route runner than Kelvin Benjamin.
So
I don't
true.
care what nobody says. Benjamin was a bust. Breaks my heart to say that because I actually bought his jersey when he got drafted. But I think Devin Funchess is a better route runner than Kelvin Benjamin. One thing I do realize what he said that made me actually a light bulb went off on my head is he was saying about McCaffrey wasn't really used properly, and I kind of agree with him on that. We could have used him a lot of times, better last season, because he could be considered a scat back, or he can play wide receiver, or you can use him all types of ways. With me, I think since we have Norv Turner now, a Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator, I believe that with C.J. Anderson, something big is about to come out. I think our run game is going to be better this year.
I agree.
That's why I disagree with him on. He was saying that he doesn't really think we're going to have a decent running year. If I got that correct, I think we're going to be okay with C.J. Anderson, McCaffrey. I mean, we got a boatload of running backs. And I know those are just camp bodies, but we got a lot. I don't know why Kenyon Bonner came back. I mean, we got what's the dude's name? Elijah Hood from
Carolina.
So I don't know what's going to happen, but I think our running game is going to be good. So you guys, tell me what you guys think, and always remember, keep pounding.
All right, thanks, G, for that call right there. One of the things, and we're going to be playing some segments from that Breck Coleman interview tonight later on in the show. We're talking about Christian, but a lot of the focus was on Christian McCaffrey from Brett Kollmann. If you've watched his video on Whack Panthers, how to fix the Carolina Panthers offense. And, it comes down, and I asked him this, I said, or I was like, how, when you say you got to use McCaffrey more, he's the answer. And Shula, the problem. What about when Shula says, well, hey, he had 80 catches last year? And it's not like he was not used.
There were games where the entire first drive was to McCaffrey.
That was like that was that San Francisco. I feel like this is that the weird thing about McCaffrey and the Panthers offense last year is that they said remember that first game against San Francisco, and they gave him the ball like 7 times in a row, and it was like 12 times in the first quarter or something. It was something crazy, and it was just like, geez. And then after the game, they were like, oh, I think we forced it to McCaffrey too much. We forced it. And then they went complete pendulum swing the other way. Yeah. And it did seem about halfway through the season, maybe week 10, they started to get a better feel for it. But I do agree with one thing, and that is, like, whatever way we use McCaffrey obviously was only good enough for the catches. Mm-hmm. Because you look at Kamara, you look at Kareem Hunt, you look at some of these other guys around the league, and it just never felt like McCaffrey, other than a couple of third downs, was really a difference maker a lot of times. Now, maybe he was. Maybe it was much more than I'm giving him credit for, but it just didn't feel like that as much as it maybe started towards the end.
Yeah. Yeah, something was missing there for sure. And, honestly, McCaffrey is more talented than those guys, I think, in time. So,
agreed.
You use them properly. Hey, well, and who's to say what properly is? Effective is what's proper. So hopefully Norv has some good ideas on how to spring that. And it's going to be a juggling act between, because Norv does like that power back, and C.J. Anderson fits that mold very well. So C.J. Anderson is going to get his touches too. He had over 1,000 yards last year. But to the caller's point, which was a great call, by the way, and thanks for calling in, is this running back locker room is much improved over last year. C.J. Anderson is no doubt an upgrade over Jonathan Stewart at this point in his career.
And I think it was – go ahead.
No, and then you're going to see some real competition. I think Elijah Hood's going to push Alex Armah for that blocking H-back type of a position. True. So it's going to be fun to watch. That's a fun group.
very fun. And I mean, in my opinion, it boils down to the play calling and the offensive line. You know, even in the video, he says that our linemen, they can down block with the best of them.
You know what? I think having Ryan Khalil back, man, it should make all the difference as well. Really.
Yes, it definitely should, man. That's the leader of our offensive line.
He's calling the signals, man. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is his last year. They have something to prove. And I mean, it all depends on our offensive line. If our offensive line can give them some help, mix that in with Cam Newton and C.J. Anderson, they don't know where we're running or who we're giving the ball to. It's that misdirection thing. I'm hopeful that we're going to have a better year running the football. And I believe Christian's going to be a big part of that. I think that Norv Turner likes a running back designed like Christian McCaffrey. I think that fits right into his wheelhouse.
You know, one thing with going back and watching that old Chargers tape is that what Norv Turner likes is to mix personnel up. Mm-hmm. And so you're going to see, I think what you'll feel, I think what Norv may excel at that Mike Shula and even, I mean, obviously Ron Rivera doesn't have a ton with the offense, but or anything to do with offense, but that era of that is that, you know, you're always trying to figure out how you complement. It's like always like we're trying to figure out how to use Funchess and Benjamin together. We're trying to figure out how to use Stewart McCaffrey together. We're trying to figure out all these parts. I feel like Norv Turner is just going to hit you with this barrage of cycle, tired. Like, because when you watch that Charger, it's Ryan Matthews, then it's Tolbert, then it's Ryan Matthews, Tolbert. Like, and there's always moving it. And I don't think it, I mean, so I think he's going to have more experience like that. Right now, there's also some trash talk going on in the chat room with an Eagles fan, which I'm with Carl on this, where he said, dude got a dual account with his old lady.
Tanya and Lamont.
Yeah, dual accounts. You should just call it Tanmont, or you got to do the double one. You got to smush them together, Tanya and Lamont. That's what we're going to say, Tanya.
We're going to call them LaTanya.
There you go, LaTanya. Right. So you look, the Eagles did win the Super Bowl, but I also saw an Eagles fan pick up horse crap and eat it. So broke clock. It's right twice a day.
And all right, at least we didn't go like 40 years without a Super Bowl. We're a young franchise. I guarantee you we're not going another 20 years.
Yeah, call us back. That's what we got to do is we got to like basically tell all Falcons fans, because they haven't won one yet either. Like, hey, you got to look at the clock. Look at the clock, folks. All right, last call.
Hey, guys. This is Waldo calling back in.
Where?
Really looking forward to tonight's episode, and Brett Kollmann talking about the offense, really breaking everything down. So I'm going to be really interested to hear what he says about that. But I guess my question is going to be what you guys think about the secondary. Right now we've got I think 9 cornerbacks and like 7 safeties on the roster. I think are gonna make the cut. I know we've got like guys like Lorenzo Doss and stuff right now that are like, you know, the camp sweethearts. But just kind of curious, realistically, who you guys see making the roster, and then if you see us making a change, making an adjustment to the way we did things last year. We were very blitz heavy. The year before that, we weren't. We seem to have some guys that look very capable in man coverage going forward, and like James Bradbury last year was phenomenal in press coverage. So just kind of curious if you think we're gonna maybe get away from the cover 2 and start incorporating some more things like that going forward with the staff that we have. Anyway, you guys have a great show and keep pounding.
All right, great call. Cody, we're going to start. Let's start with you, and we're going to go backwards to forward on that question, because I know you have some thoughts on how to alter or what some of the ways that we used our defensive backs in the blitz last year and how that affected our defensive play. So with part of the question Thanks, Waldo, for the call. The number, folks, is 252-228-5098. You can have your voice heard just like these great calls tonight. Cody, how do you see what do you think that does the defense go back to a traditional 4-3 under Eric Washington, heavy cover 2? Or is that something that we have been trying to get faster in preparation for a league that's changing and maybe cover 2 can be broken a lot easier?
Our draft picks lead me to believe the latter because of the type of play style that they have. It lends more to man coverage, and I think that's something that we're looking more towards. But the fact of the matter is we don't know what kind of defense Eric Washington is going to implement. We don't know if it's going to be very blitz heavy or if it's going to resemble more of Sean McDermott and want to use your front four for all your pressure without having to blitz. Personally, that's what I'm hoping for. But, we talk about the offensive line as something that keeps us up at night. The secondary doesn't get enough attention. I mean, we still have Captain Munderland that we don't know how many reps he's going to get. Corn Elder is an anomaly. He's never really played in a game. Kayvon Seymour is someone that the coaches liked a lot last year. Dante Jackson is someone else. And we brought in 2 new guys, one from the Giants and one from, I forget where their names are.
Ross Cockrell from the Giants and Denoris Cersei from the Titans.
Yeah, listen, I think right now it's between the offensive line and our secondary. They're the biggest question marks on the team. And then you add on top of that, we have a brand new secondary coach that we really don't know anything about. He's not really someone that I'm familiar with, that we know a whole lot about. It's definitely going to have my attention as training camp starts up because we don't know what we're doing in the backfield right now, at least from our fan perspective.
Mel, do you remember who got promoted to secondary coach?
Sorry, I don't.
Somebody in the chat room will get it. Joe Riolano, how do you feel about the Panthers returning to just the more traditional cover 2, get after them with the front 4 with this team?
Say that one more time.
How do you feel about potentially reverting back to the more traditional cover 2, get after them with 4 pass rushers, just the defensive line, and letting Kuechly and Shaq roam free?
I think if we had an ideal situation, that is exactly what we would do. I think if we could have it any way we wanted, we would get pressure with 4 and drop everybody else back.
You're right, man. The question is going to be, can we do it? I think that's going to be the ideal plan going in. But if Addison, Peppers, and company are not getting the pressure, then you're going to have to start dialing up the blitzes.
Right. Yeah, right. I think that's the last resort. I think ideally they want to just do the 4. Do they have the horses to do it? I don't know.
I like when I heard the echo of my own beer opening.
I just think I don't know that they can generate consistent enough pressure to be able to just rush forward.
I think we can. And here's why: is that we are minus a weak piece last year, and that was Charles Johnson. Charles Johnson has been a guy that God bless him, was a good Panther, but played 3 too many seasons, to be honest, with the Panthers.
Agreed.
I think too many are like 16 and 17 are inarguable. You can't mess with this. Like, obviously 15 you can only say so much about, right? But other than that, though, think about this, is that really the biggest question mark on the defensive line to me is Julius Peppers. And if that's your biggest question mark, that's a good dang question mark.
Well,
I mean,
my question mark is depth. I mean, you've got Addison and you've got Peppers starting, but Peppers is not going to play 3 downs, and Addison is not going to be able to play the whole game. So will Wes Horton be effective? And I like Wes Horton. I really do.
You do. You're a Wes Horton fan.
Yep. But then
what about the Cox guy?
Well, I think Deshaun Hall is the X factor.
Yeah. From Texas A&M.
We need him bad, man. We need a player on the defensive line to surprise.
Yeah. And I don't think it's going to be Vernon Butler.
Hey, listen, man. Keep an eye out for what's his name? Marquise Haynes. He broke the sack record at Ole Miss, set by old Punchy Punch that used to play for us.
Greg Hardy.
Man,
Greg Hardy.
Yeah, man. I'm bad with names tonight, dude. I don't know what my problem is.
Hey, Cody, my name is Mel Mayon.
Oh, hey, man. Yeah, I do remember. Yeah, good to see you again.
All right, man. Just checking.
Yeah, man. Yeah. But that is another guy, and he's similar to Mario Addison in build and play style. Yeah, he's not a very big guy, but man, he's fast. He's fast around the edge.
He'll be a good change of pace guy.
Yeah, and that's why it's exciting that training camp is going on right now. Because I feel like more than any other teams I can think of, and honestly, I'm biased, but we have a lot of position battles to look at on the offensive line, on the defensive line, and the secondary. I mean, there's a lot of moving pieces right now that we're still not 100% certain on. So there's a lot to look out for.
I'm gonna be even more. I'm still gonna be interested in how we try to use 3 linebackers. Because I just don't feel like we've been a better defense when we've had 3 linebackers on the field. I don't think we've been a bad defense when we've had all 3 linebackers, when we had Shaq, TD, and Kuechly last year. But I felt, again, it feels like a little forced. I am interested a little in trying to see what Shaq and Kuechly can do in those first 4 games. So let's move to that next part of the question. And that is with this secondary, who are the guys that you think are going to make it? Who are the guys? I think Cersei is going to be the starting strong safety.
Yeah.
The question is, will Mike Adams play the free safety? Can he play the free safety? James Bradbury, I think, look, a lot of Panther fans have turned on him pretty quickly. While he's going to have to play better, there have been some times you've seen him is kind of get burned and get lucky. Guys dropping balls. I think Julio being one of those people, in surprising fashion at times, is that I think James Bradbury has played pretty darn well. The problem is that he hasn't gotten a lot of interceptions, if any. Like he's gotten 1, I think, in his career, maybe 2 total. So I think we need him. He's going to be starting. On the other side, you got Seymour, you got Cockrell, and then potentially Dante Jackson. I think it's tough to start Dante Jackson as a rookie, but very fast. Could be a good player right away, but I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think? Is Dante? How do you address this? Again, are you just kind of what are you going to rotate guys at that second corner spot?
Well, I mean, you need a solid nickel, you need a solid dime. In this league, you need 4 or 5 solid corners to be able to compete with these spread offenses that go out there. So only time's going to tell. And I have no idea if Dante Jackson can play. I really, at this level, I really don't know, and I don't think we will know until we get into this. I hope he can. Boy, he is fast, and it will be fun to watch. And I like that bravado back there for the good, bad, and ugly.
And we've been missing that for a while.
Josh Norman.
I think the one thing I like about what we did by getting faster in the secondary is that we realized unless you have a ton of lockdown Revis Island players, which you can't, right? But unless you have guys that aren't going to make mistakes ever,
right?
They have to be athletic enough to compensate when they do.
Yeah, they got to have makeup speed.
And that's where you see Dante. That's where you're excited about. Even Seymour too. Seymour's fast. So that's what you like about those guys. It's like, oh, I bit, but hey, I'm not out of this play entirely. I think Worley was. Now you go back to this. I think the question isn't just entirely who's going to make it in the secondary, but how do you use them all? And you look at this. I think you look at Munnerlyn and Corn Elder right there, as well as if you think of this, Munnerlyn, Corn Elder, and there's an argument that Dante Jackson, Galden, like all those guys could play at the nickel corner, if needed. So how do you work that out? I think it's Captain Munnerlyn this year. But you really want Corn Elder to pan out. But how do you work those guys in situationally? I think that's going to be a tough thing to figure out.
In my mind,
that's going to be. Go ahead, Coach.
In my mind, listen. I've said this before. My brother's an LSU fan. I watched a lot of football from LSU. Every time you would watch them, I'd be like, "Man, who's number one flying around on the field, dude?" And I thought the dude was 6'1", man. He plays bigger than his frame. The guy I have the most hope for is Dante Jackson. He is all over the field on just about every play, man. LSU doesn't recruit you if you're a bum, And honestly, I think that's why he slipped to the second round, because he is a little more slight of stature. But that's my guy. I'm hoping pulls it out and really earns a spot on this team. Like Tony was saying, wanting all of our draft picks to pan out and actually be something and contribute to the team. I think Dante Jackson is a prime candidate to do just that, man.
I hope you're right.
What do you guys? The guy that I'm most excited about is Rashawn Galden, and he's because I think he can play free safety. And I think that's where he's going to fit very well. But what was exciting to me is Jalen Ramsey on Instagram said Galden is going to be, he called him defensive rookie of the year.
Wow. Yeah.
That's what Jalen Ramsey said about him. That's some high praise right there.
Yeah.
I saw that. I did see that.
So I'd like to see that is that, look, Captain Munnerlyn is coming out there. He's got a lot to prove. He's got to ingratiate himself back in with this coaching staff, because he had a tough welcome back year to Carolina. So much that they started him back last year, like having him doing interviews and this and that, and then they cut him out of everything.
It's like he regressed. He got unwelcomed.
Yes, and that's crazy for a guy that's a fan favorite.
Yes, yeah,
that's not easy to do.
And with the added competition this year, I don't think his roster spot is 100%.
I agree 100%. And
he's carrying some serious cap space,
and he's older too. Yeah. So if the goal is to get younger, Captain Munnerlyn doesn't really do that.
Fit the mold.
Yeah,
and especially if you've not yet to crack that nut that is how to use Shaq, TD, Luke Kuechly at the same time. That doesn't make it any friendlier for that position, because that's what a lot of the problems coming back to Munnerlyn were about, is that he wasn't getting playtime. And he felt like, hey, you call out a nickel, but you guys throw three linebackers out there and call it a nickel. And that you call it this funky thing called a buffalo nickel, but I'm supposed to be on the field and I'm not out there unless they figure out how to crack that nut. I mean, I think it's a lot easier to have one of the younger guys just play a couple of reps rather than Munnerlyn trying to figure out how do you keep Munnerlyn happy. But at the same time, Corn Elder is a 100% unknown.
So, Tony, are you wanting to see more of a 4-2-5 4 down linemen, 2 linebackers, and then 5, 3 corners and 2 safeties. Because a lot of teams do that. So is that kind of what you're wanting?
Yes, because I don't think that we are fast enough with TD, Kuechly, and Shaq on the field. I think that we have athletic linebackers, but they're still linebackers, right? Is that I think that everybody says that Luke Kuechly is the best coverage linebacker they've ever seen. And that Shaq should be of that caliber. And everybody's going to go back. You remember when Shaq covered Larry Fitzgerald in the NFC Championship game? Yes, I do. I was there. And I like Shaq a ton. I've got a fake jersey from China with his name on it. But I just don't know. Like, I think this is going to be upsetting to a lot of people. I think we could be better with Shaq and Kuechly playing out there most of the snaps and TD not.
And that's another question mark too, man, because remember, Thomas is out the first 4 games of the season. So we're going to see what that looks like, not having Thomas on the field.
I'm not ready to pass that torch yet, man. TD is still head and shoulders above Shaq in my mind.
But then that's a problem, though, because Thomas is getting older, and we've had Shaq since 2015. Yeah. If we don't know if Shaq is the answer by now, then what are we talking about? Maybe drafting another one? Do we pay Shaq soon? That's a big deal, man. But especially when you're next to Luke.
It is, and the good part about it is you're going to know after these first 4 games if you need to pay the dude or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, and man, I tell you, it might have been the best thing that could have happened for the Carolina Panthers. Is that not funky, Joey, to say that TD getting suspended for 4 games?
I mean, you hate to say that, but you got to look at it as a business move, and we couldn't have asked for a better situation where Shaq gets a 4-week trial period
without having the pressure of the coaching staff saying, well, TD, we're not going to play, it just takes that, it takes it out of the equation.
Well, guys, I don't want to be Debbie Downer, but I got to tell you, I'm a little worried about these first 2 games. And if you start 0-2, that's a big problem. So we need
start 0-2.
I hope we don't, man. But the Cowboys are no pushover, and the Falcons on the road are no pushover.
I am not scared of the Cowboys.
Listen, I'm not scared of them either, but I 100% agree with Mel. The Dallas Cowboys and the Atlanta Falcons have a loaded roster, and we go to Atlanta. And the Cowboys, they've been drafting very well these past few years. So, I mean, yeah, that's a tough way to start, man.
And you got some players back that were spending.
I think we need TD, man. I'm not on the boat where it's good.
I don't think we don't need him. I'm not saying that at all. I think we need all 3 of them. But
I'd feel better if we were playing, a start of this year like we had last year, San Francisco and Chicago, even though we lost Chicago.
If Shaq balls out, like crazy balls out, I think he could potentially take the job from TD. But if Shaq just plays average, that's not going to be good enough to take the position.
I think if Shaq plays average, we have a serious problem on our hands. That would be 2 first-round draft picks from David Gettleman that basically didn't pan out.
Right.
With a third one out there.
Make that 3.
Yeah.
Make that 3. And look, everybody can talk junk about Marty Herney. And they can say whatever they want. But I tell you one thing, my man don't miss in the first round. So I tell you, if I'm going to bet anything, I'm going to bet DJ Moore is going to ball out and have a dang career before I bet that Vernon Butler is a force.
And
you know what I'm saying?
Said, amen.
That's a safe bet, bro.
Because Marty Herney may not have won in the third and fourth or second. Actually, the second round was his like.
But in that same vein, Tony, will DJ Moore ball out? Is that more likely than Shaq balling out?
I think Shaq's ready, and if he's not, I agree. We have a big problem. If Shaq's not ready, what the heck have they been doing?
Right.
You know, is that he should be. This is the point where he got an extra year of being an understudy. You know, I mean, I think if you think about it, maybe 2 years if you think of how a first round draft pick probably should go. But we saw what Reuben Foster did for the San Francisco defense last year. Shaq Thompson's that caliber of linebacker in many ways. He's just been in a rotational capacity. If he can't play to that standard, we do have a problem.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to have to watch this is to finish up on the question is that I think what we're going to be looking at is how do you keep all these guys on the roster together? You know that somebody's going to be a cut that is going to surprise you, right? Out of that group. And it could be someone like for all you know, it could be Ross Cockrell. All of a sudden, there was a lot of acclaim around the guy. I haven't heard a single word about him since. Not a single word. Now, I hope that's not the case, but I feel like, remember, we always got a couple of names in and that we were excited about them, and then they disappeared in the past. I don't think that's the one. I think you're going to have to start looking. Is Munnerlyn that guy? Yeah. And then the other question is can somebody take the free safety position away from one of these other fellas who are not suited to play it anymore? And that means Mike Adams and Denoris Searcy, who never was, in my opinion, free safety. He should be classified as a strong safety alone. So those are the things I think it's just going to be tough to say at this point. You're going to try to manage the injuries and see what happens there. And, I mean, we haven't seen Cornelder play one snap, I don't think.
Oh. No, not one. I don't even think he played preseason last year.
Yeah, I think what he did, do you remember he went down after the first practice?
Yeah.
In training camp, and then once he practiced, they couldn't put him on the PUP list or something like that, or one of there was some sort of rule that was associated with it where once he practiced, it screwed up some part of his status. It was almost like he couldn't be redshirted. All right, so now what we're going to do is this week we were able to squeeze in a quick interview. Not cool, and actually it was a 30-minute interview with Brett Kollmann. Brett Kollmann he is a film analyst for SB Nation, I believe, and he really did a in-depth look at the Panthers offense from last year. He titled the video Whack Panthers. I asked him about that. You guys, what I'm going to do, we're just going to play a couple of segments from the interview. And you guys can go back, if you're watching now, you can go back on our website, CarolinaCatChronicles.com. If you're listening later on the podcast, it's just one episode back. So I posted it yesterday, the full interview, so you can go listen to that in the entirety. But one of the cool things about what Brett Kollmann did is you could tell he watched the tape, all of it. That was it. He just watched all the games and all the snaps. And I think there's a lot of credit that should be deserved when people are making these types of, when we call ourselves analysts. Not we, I don't call myself that, but you know, when you look at just a small sample set and then make you deduce something from that, it can lead you to conclusions that are, misguided. The one thing I think that was at least clear, whether you agree or disagree with Kollmann and his interpretation of the Panthers offense from last year, is that you could tell he did actually do the legwork. So here's the first segment right here. One of a couple clips we'll play. Brett Kollmann on the Panthers offense.
Brett, one of the things that I found really interesting about your video is that you kind of alluded to the fact that in order for our attack to be successful, we need to use these pin and pull, wham, and trap counter plays in order for us to maintain a rushing offense. My question to you is about Norv Turner and what you know about him. What do you think is the likelihood that he's going to be able to make that adjustment for our team?
Well, what's interesting is it doesn't even have to be that big of an adjustment. And I actually had a conversation after I released the video with somebody who played under Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh under that, when they were running a whole bunch of whams and traps, which I highlighted in the video.
Right.
And, we were having a conversation about it, about how that can't be the base run game because it's a very telegraphed play. And once you know it's coming, it's very easy to stop. So they can't necessarily only run that style of run.
It's got to be in the mix.
It's got to be in the mix. And instead of running it like 2 or 3 times a game, they got to run it, between 5 and 7. They just have to incorporate it more. And then instead of running, all these gap runs or, running ISOs up the gut, just kind of cut those out completely and replace those with a little bit more zone, a little bit more pin and pull. And then you can hit them with a few more whams a game. So I'm not necessarily saying you have to completely redo the run game, but at the very least, they need to do a better job than Shula did of actually calling plays that were working, because they didn't counterpunch enough, in my opinion.
All right, so one of the things that we have always said on this show, and this is where I think, I told him in the interview this, is that when you said this, you kind of had me at this moment where it was like, hey, I'm going to buy into this, because there's a certain affirmation to some of the things that we said, that we've been saying for years. I don't think it's fair to just throw Shula completely under the bus. I'm always worried when people do that to any player. Even it was like that with Sila Tulu earlier in the show. But I think one thing that we knew with Shula is that there seemed to be 2 weaknesses to his game. One, the ability to adjust, right? Actually, I would say 3 weaknesses. Number 1 is his inability to adjust when things aren't working particularly well. Number 2, he was not impressive to me as a game planner. And that is, I don't feel like, maybe he game planned for his team, but I don't think like at any time I really felt like, man, Mike Shula's about to beat y'all. He about to beat y'all. I don't ever think I said that. Like, we're going to get you. Like, oh, like you feel like with the Patriots, they're going to out scheme you or do something. And then the third thing, I think, and probably Shula's biggest weakness at times, at least last year, it wasn't the plays he called. It was, you didn't call Abe. The other guys just got a feel for it. Or I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't have a feel for it, but I'm hoping, Mel, that Norv Turner just knows when to call that play a little bit better, and not necessarily that the play is all that much different.
Oh, and wouldn't it be nice to have some type of a second half adjustment based on what the other team was doing?
Yeah. And I'm to the point where there was so little adjustments. I don't even know if I believe that they really occur.
Right.
Ever until I see another team do it. And I'm like, how'd they do that? How did they go into the locker room and then go, hey, we're going to do this different? And they come out and look like a different team. Panthers never, ever.
Never, no.
Yeah, what are these second half adjustments you speak of? Are these it's
like a unicorn.
Yeah. Mike Shula, in my opinion, was never able to capitalize on the talent that he had. And whenever we would do something successful, time to do that over and over and over. He was a one-trick pony, man.
Right. But, hey, in pure tribute to the troll that was on the YouTube chat board tonight, we would have beaten the Eagles had we just executed. Shula was not the full problem. You had Jonathan Stewart dropping balls and turning the ball over down in the red zone, and we lost by 5. So, and they won 2 more games than we did on the season. It's that.
Well, I tell you, it was not on Cam on that game either.
It was not on Cam. It was not on Shula. That was to me. It was on Stewart, big time. He had an awful game.
I will say that one thing Shula did know how to do was call the Cam Newton run at the right time. You know what I'm saying? Like he would call that read option at the right time. That was the only play that he ever got a feel.
Though I got to wonder. I wonder if Cam Newton just had the authority to break that out when he saw the defense doing what he liked, and maybe that was just freedom on more about Cam than Shula.
We talked to Brett about that. I don't know if you have that.
I don't know if I have that clip. I got one Cam clip, but here we go to the next clip from the Breck Coleman interview. But our feeling is we generally assume that these guys can recognize these things. When I say these guys, the coaches, we recognize that they see these strengths, these weaknesses, that they're proficient at this. Do you see, though, throughout the league at all, where coaches are either too stubborn or just seemingly incapable of adjusting in this case, like we felt Mike Shula was at times?
Oh, yeah, you see it all the time. Like I did an episode on Steve Sarkisian last year during the playoffs about how he called an absolutely horrific offensive game plan against the Eagles, and I genuinely believe cost them a Super Bowl. Because I feel like the Falcons were the best matchup in the league against the Eagles, and I feel like if the Falcons made the Super Bowl, they would have smashed everybody in front of them. But because of Steve Sarkisian's game plan, or rather lack of a game plan, they couldn't get past Philly. And in that video, I pointed out everything that Seattle did to torch the Philly defense, everything that the Giants did to torch the Philly defense. And they both had vastly inferior personnel to Atlanta, but because they had a better game plan, they were able to be a lot more successful. So it's not just about execution. The job of the coaches is to put together a game plan that can take advantage of both the skill sets of their players and the weaknesses of the players on the other side. And no matter how good you are, no matter how talented you are, as evidenced by the Falcons, they have some of the most talent in the league. If your coaches are not taking advantage of that talent in a competent and efficient manner, you're never going to win, ever. So as it relates to the Panthers, I think the Panthers actually have a lot of underrated talent on offense. I'm not a super big fan of the offensive line, but at the skill positions and obviously at the quarterback position, they're a lot more talented than people think. They just need a coach that will put together a game plan and actually use them in the right way in order for them to be more productive.
I think there's a couple of things that, first you go to what Cody said, and there seems to be an issue surrounding it of Mike Shula being able to get the most out of these guys, right? Was he able to do that? And we're certainly not convinced of that. We're not convinced either that there was a lot of continuity between the management of the team and Mike Shula. And what I mean by that is that, if you look at some of the problems that went on with the Dave Gettleman era, is that it just really doesn't feel that Shula was really ready to use a lot of the things that Gettleman was throwing at him. And, he just didn't know how to figure it out. Maybe we're being too tough on him on that. But the last thing I will say about this comment from Coleman from me is that really over the last, as I'm getting a little bit older, as I've watched politics unfold, I'm starting to think this as I watch these videos of police officers, all these different things that have been going on in society. Just because we're in a position of authority does not necessarily make us capable of holding that authority. I will just go in this. Go and watch the United States Congress ask anybody questions. And then you're going, holy crap, we are ruled by idiots. And then you go, holy crap, we elected these people. We are the idiots. I'm just saying this, that just because you have a position doesn't always mean that you're always doing the right things behind the scenes.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many different examples of it, but I mean, to go back to Mike Shula a little bit and what we've been doing on offense, and even back to what Mel said, I honestly hope that Norv Turner is smart enough to let Cam Newton have control of the offense. I believe that. I believe that they've been putting Cam on a leash, which is what Brett Kollmann said. And that, Brett said that Cam Newton, and he watches a ton of film, is one of the best pre-snap quarterbacks in the NFL. Why aren't we running a hurry-up offense and letting Cam adjust pre-snap? Why aren't we doing that? When you have a weapon like Cam Newton, why aren't you letting that man play his football, a once-in-a-lifetime player? I sincerely hope that the football gods bless us with someone in power that is able to see this and let our offense roll.
Let's hear the comment on Cam Newton. I'm going to jump ahead to, and let's hear about that because, and just because you say hurry up, we could change this to just it doesn't even have to be a hurry up as much as just no huddle.
Yeah, something that keeps them on their toes.
It's not hard for you guys to substitute, right? You make it difficult for them to substitute. You put the pressure on them rather than put the pressure on you.
And it's always having them not knowing what they're going to do. When we're taking forever and getting penalties because delay of game.
It's because the play's not called in.
Yeah, because the play isn't called in. And even during our 2015 season, there was a clip, Cam taking off his helmet, losing his mind because the play wasn't in. I mean, this is a problem. And on top of that, if we're predictable, our offense is dead on arrival if you add all those things together. So it might not have to be hurry up, but it needs to be a hell of a lot faster than it has been.
Yeah, I think that Norv's going to bring that. Here's Breck Coleman on Cam.
I guess you could summarize it in one sentence by saying there's a reason why Mike Shula is no longer there.
Maybe not.
Thank God. We're going to kind of jump around here because you mentioned Cam Newton. And in your film room, you mentioned that he doesn't get a lot of credit for how intelligent he is at the quarterback position. And then you go on and you cite some examples. But can you talk about, how you feel that that's true and that he doesn't get enough credit and maybe what's been holding him back or maybe how even his coaches might have been holding him back?
Yeah. When Cam gets into trouble with interceptions and stuff like that, I mean, he doesn't throw as many quote-unquote bad interceptions as people think. There was a lot of tip balls and stuff like that. Bounces just didn't go his way. But when he does throw an interception that I feel like is his fault, it's for one of two reasons. Either A, the ball sails on him, which is more of a mechanical issue than anything else, or B, he throws what I call a hero ball.
Yeah, right.
He unleashes that inner Brett Favre where he's like, I'm Cam Newton. I can fit it in there. And then he finds out real quick, oh, crap, no, that's not going to work. But that doesn't happen that often. And I feel like Cam is a lot better pre-snap than post-snap, which that's not necessarily a bad thing. There's a lot of quarterbacks that when they're getting hit by a whole bunch of different safety rotations and blitzes come from different directions, it's very easy to kind of get lost a little bit. There's like 3 quarterbacks in the league that I think are unbelievable post-snap. But I think what's good about Cam is that his pre-snap vision is better than most quarterbacks in the league. So even if post-snap, it can kind of break down a little bit and he'll throw some of those hero balls that he really shouldn't. Pre-snap, the fact that he is really good at identifying blitzes, he's really good at changing protections and finding answers to different pressure packages. The fact that he's so good at that and he's so smart before the snap means that if you're giving him the opportunity to be in command, he's not going to end up being in trouble post-snap where he's going to throw those bad interceptions in the first place. I feel like if you give him more freedom to find the answer before the snap, he's not going to get in trouble after the snap. And that was another thing that I felt like Mike Shula didn't do enough of. You need to let him spread the offense out, let him see the field, let him identify pressure packages, and find the answer himself. Because if you try to contain him into whatever the play call was originally, and if he's trying to fit the play call into what he sees post-snap, that's where the problems arise. So basically let him be his own offensive coordinator and find the right answer before the snap, and he'll get into a lot less problems after the snap.
Dude.
So there's going to Cam Newton. I think this, and what I said to him right afterwards was part of it is that, like, hey, sometimes isn't it just good to let the guys play? You got Cam Newton. It's kind of like this, is that like, I mean, you got Luke Kuechly. Just let them go out there and do what they do.
How many teams wish that they could have a Cam Newton or a Luke Kuechly?
No.
We have
so
them.
Interesting to say, and I do think if you go back and you look at what was going on with Mike Shula, one of the things, or at least that they were uncomfortable giving Cam too much leeway. Now, they had to start changing their tone a little bit after 2015. But you could see it, is that there were at times where it really felt like he was handcuffed. Now, he's at a point in his career where it's important for him to show that he can do these things. So, to me, I think that's an interesting point, and we'll see if it plays out. But I do know that one of the things that Norv Turner does is Norv Turner pumps his dudes up. He's like, yo, I got Cam Newton, bro. Like, I didn't ever hear Mike Shula say that.
To be fair, we never heard Mike Shula say much.
Right.
True that. Yeah. I mean, you could walk past him in a grocery store and not even know it.
Yep.
All right. Go ahead.
Yeah, Cam Newton is, and it's at the start of the show, Tony, you said that you weren't as excited about this training camp season as you might have been some others in the past. I'm the opposite, man. Listen, I just recently made an Instagram account, and by the way, don't follow it. I don't ever post anything on there.
I don't even know how to use Instagram barely.
Dude, I just use it to follow people, and man, every time I see that Cam Newton has posted the new Instagram story, dude, I'm pumped, man. Like, Cam's enthusiasm. Listen, our enthusiasm about the Panthers lives and dies with Cam Newton. And I honestly feel Cam Newton is more excited than he's ever been. And he's healthy, man. He wasn't healthy going into this point last year. That's a huge deal, man. I am so pumped up. I think that there is no reason that we shouldn't be a fantastic football team this year. Now, there's a lot of question marks, yes, but I think we have the talent. I think we have the people to do it. I'm ready, man. I'm ready yesterday, dude.
All right. Guys, I wanted to keep the show to 10 o'clock tonight. So, look, I'm going to do this, is that we're going to get into our ice up picks here at the end. We'll go ahead because we're already 13 minutes behind Mel. I already see him. I think he already fell asleep.
Pretty close.
You guys can check out that full Breck Coleman interview on CarolinaCatChronicles.com. If you're listening on the podcast, just go back one episode and check it out. It's 30 minutes. We had a good time hanging out.
Very much worth the effort to go back and listen. You will enjoy.
Thank you, Joey. So guys, if you're listening, if you're watching right now, we appreciate everything you give to this show, and we ask you to do one more thing: smash the thumbs up button, subscribe, share the show with a friend. Call the cat, and the last thing you can do is you can be a part of the show by calling the Cat Calls line at 252-228-5098. But guys, it's time for us to hit them up with the last segment of the show where we ice somebody up. We tell them to get it together. Mel, you want to start tonight, or you want me to go after it?
I'll start it off. I think this is a little bit different take than most people are going to take to it, but I'm going to ice up a team that, people got on Marty Herney back in the day for spending like a drunken sailor. And one of the things in Charlotte sports history I always remember is George Shinn pulling the trigger on the Larry Johnson contract, paying him just money that was not bared out by the market. He set a new bar, and it just really kind of screwed up the whole NBA balance of dollars, and it just skyrocketed from there. The St. Louis Rams, or the now LA Rams, rather, still hard for me to say that, but the Los Angeles Rams go out this week and do two unprecedented contracts that just really are going to screw up the market. I mean, you're signing Brandon Cooks, which, what did he do last year? Not a whole heck of a lot. And you're giving him $50 million guaranteed dollars. And then on top of that, you turn around to Todd Gurley, who, granted, he was amazing last year. 19 touchdowns, 1,300 rushing yards, 700 receiving yards. But 2 years left, you had him under contract. 2 years left. And they go and just automatically pay him more than Le'Veon Bell has been fighting for 3 years now. Just unprecedented without true reason as to why to do it. They pay him above and beyond market value. And then, oh, yeah, you still got your quarterback with one more. Next year, Jared Goff's going to be in the same year of his contract as Gurley is when he got his extension. So I guarantee you that franchise or that agent is going to be calling to get his guy paid next year, and it's going to be over $30 million is what they're going to be trying to get. And then, oh, yeah, don't forget you got the best defensive player in the league on your team that is holding out of training camp as of right now because you're not paying him. So you go and you pay a running back where you have him under contract for 2 more years and you break the market. Now David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell, all these guys are going to be expecting $15 million a year to start compared to Todd Gurley. And you haven't even paid your other key stars yet. Who, and if I'm Arnold, I would be really upset that, hey, I'm in my contract year. I'm the best player on this defense, and yet you're going to pay a guy who's had really one really good year. The year before he had 865 yards, and you're going to break the bank and set the new market for him, and you're not paying me as of yet? I tell you, this team better know what they're doing because we've seen what it's like to get into salary cap hell, and that's a good way to get rid of good talent. So,
so Mel's not a Gurley man.
I do like Gurley, but I'm not paying the man $15 million 2 years early. You know, that's just crazy. So to you, Los Angeles Rams, ice up.
All right. Cody, what you got for us?
Yeah, man. So everyone has Netflix nowadays. So I know everyone watching has it. Listen, man, go check out a series on Netflix called Last Chance U. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. They follow around these junior colleges, and it's basically like what Cam Newton did. Cam got into a lot of trouble at Florida, so then he got kicked out of Florida, and he went and revitalized his college football career at Blenton Community College. So this documentary series, they follow around these coaches and these players, most of the time in the middle of nowhere, at these football programs with these D1 level talent players trying to fight for their football career. And the reason why I'm picking this tonight is these players, they go there and they cannot stop doing stupid crap, dude. They can't ever stop smoking pot. They can't ever stop getting Fs, getting into trouble, talking back to their coaches, and they know they have all the talent in the world. I mean, most of these guys were 5-star high school athletes before they went to Texas A&M or Clemson or some other big-name college out there, and then they just ruined it. It's called Last Chance University. This is your last chance to show people that you're worthy of being a multi-millionaire football player, and you just want to piss it down the drain and go back to where you came from and probably be dead or in jail in the next few years. Listen, man, not many people are blessed with opportunities like that, and if you're just going to throw them away, then honestly, you don't deserve to have it. So to everyone who's all these football players on these junior colleges that don't know what they have, ice up, son.
So much for what Dre said. Smoke weed. Well, no, what was it? It wasn't Dre. It was Nate Dogg. Wasn't it, Joe? Smoke weed. All right. Joe, what you got for us on the ice up picks? Because mine is fire tonight. So bring it.
Well, let me get mine out of the way. I'm icing up the Branton Ride the Duck Boat people.
Oh, God. Saddest story.
They were so very negligent in their and the way they run their business. I can't believe no one checked the weather that day. The entire office staff, nobody knew the weather. And I actually read that the captain said before they set off that day, the captain said, your life jackets are above you, but don't worry, you won't be needing them today. So nobody put them on.
What?
Yes, and they had them, but nobody put them on. And, you know, I think 17 people lost their lives.
9 people in one family.
9 people from one family. So, you know, it really is inconceivable to me that in this
It really is.
no one checked the weather. And they just went out and, you know, because of such blatant negligence, you know, people lost their lives. Children lost their lives.
Yeah,
1-year-old. 1-year-old children.
Yeah, awful.
So I'm icing them up on the basis of sheer stupidity and absolute incompetence.
Almost criminal neglect.
I have to say,
Almost.
man.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is. I mean, that many people die, you got to start wondering. Not start wondering, you got to start pressing charges.
Yeah.
Right. I know the lawsuits aren't far off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Should be.
So God bless their families and the people, and it just tells you that, man, tomorrow is never promised.
No.
You can go on something as stupid as I'm not trying to diminish it, but like these people's lot, but stupid as a bus boat.
Right.
I mean, that's what it is, right? It's like a bus boat.
It's like a bus boat, and
and
you're on a lake, a big lake, and you don't think to check the weather at all. For the entire day, you didn't think to check the weather. So anyway, that's my ice up pick, the Branson Ride the Duck Boat Company. Ice up, son.
All right, my ice up pick goes to pro gamer Faze Sensor, aka Douglas Martin, who has been dating for 3 years the world's sexiest weather girl, Yanette Garcia. And Yanette Garcia, I never heard of any of these people before today, but I tell you this, is that Faze Sensor, aka Douglas Martin, dumped Yanette Garcia. And I'm going to tell you, if you look at this 27-year-old Mexican meteorologist that he dumped, I'm going to tell you, there's some question marks that are going off right away in my head going, what in the world? I always think this. You see a girl that looks like that, and I think of that How I Met Your Mother episode where, who's Doogie Howser? What's his name again? The guy that plays he was in Harold and Kumar.
Yeah, I can't think of his name.
That guy.
Michael C. Hall.
No, Michael C. Hall is Dexter.
I tell you, that's a bad night to ask me.
It's so I mean he's famous for this, and he had this, and he's a player in How I Met Your Mother. Like he's a ladies' man. And he put this chart up, like he put a graph up, and it was like you're hot on one axis, the girl's hotness on one axis, and on another axis,
Neil
Patrick Harris, yes. And on the other axis, it was her crazy level. And it was like there's a sweet spot where these two lines converge, but if your crazy goes above your hot, then that we got a problem. If you're hot, right, this is like you're waiting for that moment. So I was thinking of this guy dumped this woman, Yanette Garcia, and boy, I mean, I'm telling you, God lives. God lives, folks. Says this is that this was in his video. He said this: if any of you guys don't know, Yanette is obviously one of the most beautiful women in the world. But for now, all I want in my life at this very moment is to compete in Call of Duty because I love it so much. I really love competing, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to be a champion.
I was going to defend the dude until that statement.
So I'm gonna tell you this: that's what I was thinking of when you said Vernon Butler. What are you doing in the club? Why aren't you in the study hall learning the books? You know what I'm saying? The football. I'm thinking it's this guy. He just dumped the world. He's the most committed dang Call of Duty player ever. And I'm gonna tell you this, bro. I'm ready to dump Call of Duty. It is my duty to dump the Call of Duty tonight. Son, your name, whoever you are, Faze Censor, I say to you, ice up. And all of y'all listening, go look at Yannick Garcia. You'll be happy.
More importantly,
Joey's Googling her right now.
Oh, I already did. What are you talking about? I already did.
Look
Telling
up
you.
on YouTube and watch her turn around while she's doing the weather. That's the move right there.
Done.
Why do you think Joe was on mute for a couple minutes there?
All right. So, and that's why they had to call him Censor. Faze Censor. He had to censor all that. Oh, Lord. All right. This is a C3 podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where even we try to end at an hour, we still go 26 minutes long. My name's Tony Dunn. You can follow me on Twitter at @cat_chronicles. Mel Mayock, where can they hit you up, my friend?
Hit me anytime at Panthers Drafter. And if you're going to be at Panthers training camp this Saturday, I will be there. Drop me a line, drop me a note. Let's take some pictures. We'll have some fun.
Yes, take some damn pictures for us, Mel. Use that iPhone camera and get some dang pictures. Cody Lashney, where can they get you, brother?
At Cody Lack on Twitter. Man, hit me up. I'm open to any questions from anybody about Panthers, Clemson's, video games, anime, movies, you name it. I'm a well-rounded person. Come and talk to me.
Joe Riolano, where can they find you? Watching Mexican Weather Channel. I tell you what, I know what the weather is. Oh, sorry.
You better believe that.
In Tijuana.
Oh, boy.
You can find me on Twitter at Joe Riolano. You got a sweet car? Send me the pic. You see the sweet car? Took a picture of it? Let me see it. You want to talk Panthers? I'm your man.
I just saw a black Audi, it looked like, I thought it was a Corvette at first. It had no top, and it looked like the Batmobile, dude. It was bad to the bone. All right, guys, look, is that you can support the show. Send the link to a friend. We also have a Patreon account if you want to consider donating. I've also been getting some comments and some messages about the fantasy football challenge. It will be coming. I'm working on it. I'm ordering the prizes right now. One of them, the number one giveaway this year, is going to be an autographed Christian McCaffrey jersey, folks. You're going to like that. I got some more prizes coming, so we're going to get all that sorted out in the next 10 days or so, 2 weeks. We'll get the draft in by the end of August, first week of September, and we'll be ready to go. This is the C3 podcast brought to you by Carolina Cat Chronicles. We'll see you next Tuesday night, folks.
Keep pounding.